Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. What is so hard about answering a damn question? Especially when it's an ethics question, right or wrong? Answer yes or no. Is it okay to steal money from people? The answer is always no. Yes or no, is it okay to walk up to MAGA supporters with Trump hats on and assault them for no reason whatsoever? The answer is always no. Then why is it so hard for Democrats to answer basic questions about morality and ethics when the answer is obvious? Here's the question. Is it okay for men to compete in female spaces, female sports, where they continue to dominate them with unfair competitive advantages? And in many recent cases, female athletes have been injured by male athletes competing in these domains. Is that okay? The answer is always no. Not, oh, it depends, there's a lot of nuance, hormone levels, time of transition. No, the answer is no. Unequivocally, absolutely not. But why is it so difficult for Democrats to answer such a simple question? Especially on the campaign trail. You're running for office, you're trying to get elected as a United States representative, a senator, a governor, whatever it is. The voters want to hear what you have to say and it matters. Because regular folk have this little thing called common sense. And if what you're saying is absolutely crazy, well then you are very likely to tank your campaign. And boy oh boy did this Democrat tank her campaign with this ridiculous non-answer on a very simple issue. Let me show you guys exactly what I'm talking about in this viral moment with Joe Kent and his Democrat opponent. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so take a look at what's going on here. Joe Kent for Congress releases this clip. When asked about biological men and girls sports, Mary Gluesenkamp Perez for Congress tried to hide her support for it by pretending not to understand the question and then insulting the female voter who asked it. Take a look at this.
Do you support biological males competing in biological female sports?
I think that is it's complicated. It depends. When do they transition? What are their hormone levels? I mean, when you really look at athletes have all different natural hormone levels. So it is a nuanced question.
So yes, you do support that?
It depends on the scenario.
Yes or no? But we're faced with situations where it's either a yes or no. Either the biological male competes or the biological male does not compete with women. And so we have to make that decision.
Yeah, I don't think you're understanding the nuance of these issues.
These leftoids keep going on and on and on about how the right wing has become extreme and radical, yet they can't name a single example when it comes to policy. They just go, January 6. Republican stances have not changed. In fact, they might have moderated just a little bit. Basic values of individual and economic freedom and small government, with a new emphasis these days on populism and nationalism. Meanwhile, the left continues to take these ridiculous radical stances that nobody agrees with. Which side is really going radical? I mean, it seems as though even the left knows that the left is going radical and extreme and moving away from basic voters, or more importantly, moving away from basic common sense. Even Joe Scarborough from MSNBC calls out the Democrats on this exact issue.
And let me offend a lot of people here, because that's what I do.
We only have a few more minutes left.
I can't tell you
do a show without
how many progressives or how many liberals will say things privately or quietly. Let's take the Penn swimmer that transitioned. And they said, no, do you really? I don't think young women should have to compete against somebody who transitioned, after puberty, and it's just not fair. And I said, well, why don't you write a column? Oh, I can't write a column about that. I go, well, but you believe it. And so I found a Pew poll where 82% of Americans don't believe that men who transition post-puberty should be able to compete against women in sports. 82%. And yet if you have that conversation on television, in news, if you write an op-ed about it, suddenly you hate. And you're a hater
Even MSNBC cites the Gallup poll that 82% of Americans don't believe that men who transition post-puberty should be able to compete against women in sports. That's post-puberty, and even before puberty, the overwhelming majority of Americans don't agree that men should be competing in female sports. Basic common sense. All you need is a little bit of life experience after the age of maybe 3 or 4 to understand this basic concept that girls and boys are different, that it's unfair, that boys are much more powerful, stronger, and faster. But of course, Democrats continue to reject basic biology that even 5 and 6-year-olds can understand. It's just not a good look, and everybody knows it. And it's probably the biggest problem that the Democrats are currently facing. They are tanking their campaigns with these ridiculous stances. I mean, just take a look at Joe Kent's face during this exchange. He's looking at this Democrat candidate going, "What are you saying? What are you doing? This is not going to age well. It's not going to end well for you." And of course, he's right. It's just not a good look. It's an awful look. And if you ask me, I mean, these Democrats are doubling up here. Not only do they look bad on the actual stance that they're taking, because it's a ridiculous, indefensible stance that the American voter does not stand with, but they also look bad because they're being utterly dishonest, dismissive, and shady on these issues. You know what people don't like? People don't like it when Democrats refuse to answer a question, especially if it's a yes or no question. The answer is yes or no. Not, it depends, and continuing to pivot or avoid answering the question. What the American voters want from their politicians, from their elected officials and leaders, is clear and concise leadership on important issues. Yet all you've seen from these Democrats during this entire 2022 season is avoiding the hard questions, is avoiding taking hardline stance on important issues. I mean, on the issue of abortion, for instance. Should there be any limitations, any restrictions whatsoever on this medical procedure? Or should it be totally unrestricted all the way up to 9 months within the pregnancy? That is a radical stance that, once again, the overwhelming majority of the American population disagree with. I actually think the number is 82% in the 3rd trimester, falling right in line with the men competing in female sports issue. I think it's around 82% in the 2nd trimester. I think it's 72 to 28% disapprove to approve. I mean, for any politician, this should be a no-brainer. There should be restrictions. Anything in the 2nd trimester, it starts to get iffy. The American people don't support it. I'm running to be an elected official, a representative of the people. I should represent the majority view of the American populace. But of course not. All we keep getting from these Democrats.
Are there any limits on abortion you would find appropriate?
I don't believe so, no.
There is no such thing as a heartbeat at 6 weeks. It is a manufactured sound designed to convince people that men have the right to take control of a woman's body away from her.
Do you support a woman being allowed to have an abortion up until birth?
Well, I'll tell you, that's a decision that should be made between a woman and her doctor. I don't have the medical credentials to make that decision.
I mean, is that a yes or no, though?
But I think most members of Congress don't have the medical credentials to make that decision.
My question was about any limits to abortion at any point. You know, late term, anything?
Look, you got to leave it up to the woman, because you and I sitting here are a bunch of, well, you and I sitting here can't account for all of the different scenarios.
Just answer the damn question clearly and concisely. They give a political answer of, oh, it should be a medical decision between the patient and their doctor. You're not answering the question. Do you believe in abortion up to 9 months? Say yes or no. Well, their non-answer tells you everything that you need to know. Their answer is yes. They support this radical position. They support many of these radical positions. Whether it's defunding the police that they're all trying to pretend as if they don't support, but they do. They have a history of supporting defund the police activist groups. Whether it's mandates and school closures for children, radical gender ideology and CRT being pushed on young children as well, medical procedures. I'm not going to go through the list. You guys know them all. It goes on and on. Extreme radical positions, which they pivot away from and they avoid during debates, they avoid during the campaign season. But then once they get elected, they become the radicals that they always have been. This is why Democrats Democrats are losing independents is why they're losing suburban moms. And it's also why they continue to avoid debates, because they don't want to be challenged and they don't want these moments to continue going viral. Voters are asking questions that they can't answer, or that they answer so deceptively, and it's why they're losing, and losing bad. Such a ridiculously awful strategy. I mean, just answer the damn question, yes or no. That's all people are looking for, and Democrats can't even do that. And that pretty much tells you all that you need to know. These people are not fit for power. They're not fit for these leadership positions, which they're so hungry for. The radical left and their hostile takeover of the Democrat Party is in full-on free fall. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. I got one more video to record on the day, so I'm going to get to that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.